Hi, Ray Pointer here, and today I want to share with you how to use a framework to create a thriving insight community. So I'm going to start with a few contextual items and link it back to the manifesto for insight communities, which we published a little while ago. And then I'm going to dive into the framework, and the framework has got 6 steps. I'm going to go through 5 of these steps, and then you're going to hear from my colleague who's going to take you through how we bring that alive by creating the community. So first of all, the context. What we know from lots of data, for example, the Green Book Grit study, is that communities are the fastest growing new research approach. And by new, I mean things that have really changed over the last 10 years. They're the key to customer centricity. If you want to put the customer at the heart of your organization, you need communities. They're the key to agile approaches because they're always on, because they're pre-recruited, because you've got the deep profiles. You know people's backstory. You can create new projects really quickly, and you can put designers and thinkers and innovators in touch with real customers. They're the key to democratizing insights. You can allow more and more people in your organization to learn things and to access information via communities. But of course, communities need to be productive, cost efficient, and to do that, they have to be engaged. So here is the framework, and we're going to go through this one step at a time, looking at how we systematically create great communities, because great communities don't happen just by chance. The first thing you need to do is to do an audit of the stakeholder needs and start with the needs that are met, because you may find that you can improve the way they're met. You might be able to improve speed, you might be able to improve cost, you might be able to make things easier via the community. But you also need to identify the unmet needs. What is it that people would like to do, but they're not doing? And why are they not doing it? Are they not doing it because it's too expensive? Are they not doing it because it's too much fuss? Are they not doing it because they don't trust the results? You'll need to understand those as well. And then you're going to need to link that to budget and resources. If people are going to find this as a more productive way of doing it, then hopefully they will provide more budget and resources and the size of teams and so on. You need to identify your way of working, the way that you want to work. And for some organizations, that is, we want the agency to do everything. The next option really along is that we want the insight team to do most things. We'll probably ask agencies to help us with some things. And the next stop on that continuum is democratize, where a wide range of people can look for insights themselves. They can create surveys, they can create focus groups, they can pull reports and analyze the information. So we have this first dimension, but we also have the dimension, is it more of a panel, somewhere where you can run surveys, but there is no great community, there's no great co-creation of the future? Or is it more of a community where you're saying to customers, help us co-create the future of our brand, of our organization, of our service? Once you have this two-dimensional spectrum, you can think about where your organization wants to be. And here is one scenario. This organization is saying, we want a combination of agency and insight team. This is sometimes called assisted serve. And we definitely want to be community. Well, we want to be co-creating the future of our brand with our customers. But you might equally say, actually, what we want to do is we want to be able to do surveys, and we want as many people in the organization as possible to be able to do those surveys. Maybe the insights team will do the more advanced ones, but we want most people to be able to do their own, in which case you'd be looking at a space like this. That generates a different community depending on where you are on this space. You've got to think about the sorts of outputs that you're going to deliver. Is it going to be data, or are you going to deliver stories or visualizations? This combines well with sort of tactically, what are they? Are they going to be tables? Or is it dashboards? Or is it recommendations? There are organizations that want data. There are organizations that want dashboards, and there are organizations that actually just want recommendations. So you need to know which combination of those best represents what you want to achieve. What sorts of samples of people are you going to be talking to? So the size of them, but also the characteristics. Are they going to be regular customers, occasional customers, non-customers? Do you want to connect with older people as well as younger people? Do you want to connect with rural people as well as urban people? And then, as well as who do you want to be in the total, what sorts of subgroups? Because the subgroups will define your total community size to a large extent. If you want to be able to compare older men with younger women as data cells, you'll need a certain size. If you want to be able to compare major cities in your country, and you've got maybe 10 major cities, obviously you'll need a much larger total size to get subgroups that are going to be relevant. What balance are you going to have between qualitative and quantitative research? When it comes to analysis, do you really just want to do simple analysis where you're looking at the totals? Or do you want to do sort of standard crosstabs and filters? Or do you want to do advanced statistics like driver analysis and segmentation? And if you do want to do them, how are you going to do them? Are most of your projects standardized, in which case democratization is much more straightforward? Or are they tending to be ad hoc? Do they differ from one project to another? So it's going to be much harder for you to create a democratized system. And how much turnaround speed do you need from the request to the result? This will depend on whether you tend to do more strategic research, in which case the speed is less important, but the depth is going to be really important. Or is it going to be mostly agile, tactical research, in which case the depth may not need to be so much, but the speed will have to be really good. Once you've got that background, you can start looking at the features, because the features are going to help you define the request for proposals. And we recommend using Moscow, dividing all the possible features into must have, should have, could have, and won't have. And that is going to enable you to put a framework together around these. So what survey options do you need? Do you need gamified surveys? Do you need mobile surveys? Do you need complex surveys? Do you need to be able to put logic into the surveys? What sort of analysis do you want inside the package? And what sort of ability to export data for analysis outside the package do you want? What sort of qual do you need? Are you going to do video online focus groups? Are you going to do ethnography type research? Are you going to do online discussions? Do you need post-its? Do you need whiteboards? All of these sorts of things. What about the engagement tools? Are you going to create newsletters? Are you going to have gamified processes and gamification things like points and badges? How are you going to communicate with the members of your community? Is email going to be the way you communicate with your members? Or do you want to be using WhatsApp or WeChat or Facebook Messenger, SMS, these sorts of options? And then the specific level of security you want. Do you want standard security, or do you require end-to-end double encryption with double opt-in, with the data not traveling from one country to another, etc.? So you need to detail all of those features. Seek advice. That's our very strong recommendation at this point. Describe to experts what your needs are, how you work, and the sort of exports that you want to be able to create. And they will be able to say, well, have you thought about this feature? Because there could be features out there which you might want to put into your specification that you're not even aware of. Maybe you haven't realized the latest level of development with eye tracking or with chatbots or with some other technology around that. The integration of social media listening, for example. Then we get to the system selection. You're going to create a request for proposals. You're going to talk to some suppliers. You're going to base that on your Moscow. And probably no, there won't be a single platform that does everything you want. It won't do everything you've said maybe you need, must have. Or if it does, it might be too expensive. So what then happens is you review the must-go. Are there must-haves that could become should-haves? Are there should-haves that could become could-haves? Are there could-haves that you say, you know what, on this iteration, we won't have them? That enables you to refine the specification, and you go back to the people who are bidding to be your supplier, and you can pull that information together and select a system. Once you've done that, you get to stage 6 of our framework, which is actually creating the community. You've done the design work. Now you need to make sure it happens. And I'm going to say 2 things. The first is read the manifesto. If you've not already downloaded a copy of the Potentiates Manifesto for Insight Communities, let us know and we will send you a copy. But secondly, what I'm going to do now is hand the baton over to my colleague, and she will take you through the steps that you need to take in creating a great community. So thanks for listening to me, and listen to the next bit just as much.
Hi everyone, I'm Emma Clark. I'm an account director at Potentiate, and I've spent almost 9 years working with insight communities and generally helping clients from different industries connect with their customers. So today I'm going to share the key steps in creating an insight community. So let's get started. So there are 3 key steps when creating an insight community. First, you need to define the value proposition. This means that you need to define what you're going to offer your members and what they will benefit from in this experience. So this is the concept of communities of interest, which we actually talked about in a previous webinar. You need members to be interested in joining your community for a specific reason. Second, you set up your community. So this is the actual technical setup of your community. And third, once your community is set up, you need to bring it to life internally. So this means that your community has to be truly useful to your organization. It should answer your stakeholder needs and align with your business objectives. So first up, defining the value proposition. So the first thing you need to consider is who will join. This is the base of your community. Who do you want to invite? Which profiles interest you? A top tip is that building personas of your future members can really help you visualize them. Second, what will make them want to join? So you know who you want to invite, but now you need to actually make them want to join your community. And to do so, you need to define what you're going to offer them. You need to highlight those benefits of signing up. So here I'm not really talking about incentives, but I'm talking about benefits. So things like exclusivity, being a VIP, and just having an influence on the brand, that ability to co-create with the brand. And third, what will make them engaged? So you want to make sure you have a solid engagement plan so that you can really retain those members once they've signed up. So if in the recruitment messaging you said members will have an impact on the brand decisions, you need to plan regular sharebacks, which really share those kind of results of studies to show them that they're having that impact. Or if you talked about co-creation, you should identify projects where members truly made an impact. Or if you promised exclusivity, you need to be sure you can deliver this by actually sharing that exclusive content or tickets to events or product trials. Okay, setting up your community. So once you've defined your value proposition, you know who you're going to invite and how you're going to keep them engaged, you need to technically set up your community. And there are 3 key tasks that overlap with each other. So the first is creating a community has multiple dimensions, things like technical, creative, legal. So you need to onboard as soon as possible every team that could be useful for the setup. So this could be your, IT team, your legal team, your marketing team, any other teams that need to be included should be onboarded. Then, once everyone relevant is involved, you can start designing the community. So this means things like choosing the name, choosing the visual identity, the tone, how you want to address your members, sort of building up that brand guideline for the community. And during this, you should really be keeping in mind your organization constraints. So things like your actual brand guidelines, but also the value proposition we set earlier. Finally, once the community is created, you can start recruiting members. And to do this, you need to identify the recruitment sources available in your organization that you might want to use. So things like the CRM database, social networks, websites. Then you need to create your invitation message, still with your value proposition and personas in mind. So these tasks can overlap, which means that you can do them at the same time. Okay, bringing your community to life internally. So once the recruitment has started, the work is not done. A successful community is a community that is useful and integrated within the organization. So to bring your community to life internally, you need to define clear processes, especially around survey briefing. You can create templates to fill in or have a shared research roadmap with the capability to request a project. Another important process is stakeholder feedback and follow-up. So, to understand how survey results were used, it's important to go back to stakeholders and find out how they use the results. And always remember, you want to be sharing that feedback with the community members too. To be able to follow these processes and send project requests, your stakeholders need to be aware of the community. So you do need to market your community and promote it internally. This is actually an ongoing process. It's important to promote your community when it's launched, but it's even more important to regularly remind your stakeholders that the solution exists and how it could help them. Some of our clients actually send out newsletters with the latest insights from their community, and others have monthly shout out meetings or videos like Insight of the Month. Whatever the media you use to promote your community, you need to create processes and prompts to make sure it actually happens. Finally, we need to be able to demonstrate the value of the community, and so we need to be able to measure its ROI. ROI measurement is specific to each organization. Some will have market research KPIs, like the number of studies done per year with the community. Others will have business KPIs, like significantly faster product development processes. But most will have both market research and business KPIs. At Potentiate, we actually work together with our clients to define a set of KPIs to measure ROI and track it over time. Many of our clients also set up satisfaction surveys for their stakeholders, and this tracks their satisfaction and to check if the community is still answering their needs. If it's not still meeting stakeholder needs, then it is time to reevaluate the community and see if it needs a redesign. So, why redesign a community? In some cases, you might want to redesign your community. And some of the reasons why include, one, the global organization has changed. So this could be that the organization has a new strategy that is going to impact the objectives of your community. Two, the team has changed. New people on your team might have a different vision. They might challenge the objectives of the community. The company might be having a reorganization, or it might be merging with a new company. You might have needs to integrate new technologies or methodologies. For example, you might only be doing quant now, but in the future you want to do more qual research and you want to collect video feedback. You might be expanding into new countries or into new markets. Or, there might be new market conditions, either yours or in the market research world. Or maybe the community is just stale and it's not innovating anymore and you want to break the status quo and innovate. And, there are many other reasons why you might redesign your community. But whatever the reason, there are 3 stages when redesigning a community efficiently. So the first is it's important to do an internal audit using the framework approach. which is the one that Ray detailed at the beginning of the webinar. 2, adapt your community to your new objectives and needs. And, this depends on what has been decided on in the audit stage. It can be really small, like including new topics or new methodologies, but it can be a full redesign with a change of system. 3, relaunch the community. And, this can be an internal only relaunch, for example, where you slightly change the objectives or you include new research topics, but it can also be an external relaunch. So this is where you do a redesign with a significant impact for members. So things like changes in the visual identity, a change of name, a change of system, or just changes in the value proposition. Okay, to finish. In summary, 1, a great community does not happen by accident. 2, use a framework to plan the design and redesign. 3, start by assessing needs and budget or resources. Or plan how to meet those needs. 5, use the Moscow method to assign priorities. Expect to iterate the process. And that's me for today. Thanks so much for listening so far. We'll now go over to the live Q&A.